and PG-13 hockey man. I'm at the Class AA championship for Minnesota State High School Hockey. Edina versus Eden Prairie. You're watching Post to Post.
Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Washington versus Carolina. You've got the defending Stanley Cup champions versus one of the biggest underdogs this year, the Carolina Hurricanes, with a pretty big story around them the entire year, with all the celebrations after the games and everything else that's going on with the Hartford jerseys coming back and the new ownership. And it's been a pretty good year I almost said Hartford. Pretty good year for Carolina. And it's going to be a pretty good series. I think it's going to be a lot closer than most people think. Carolina's going to put up a pretty good fight against Washington, I think.
I think so.
And to be honest, I don't know if I would be that surprised if they won this series. Not that that's not a knock against Washington. I just think that Carolina has a bit of one of those fairy tale stories going on, and have a lot of chemistry on the team. And that's something that you can't underestimate is chemistry. So it's going to be an interesting series. So let's go through some stats and go through some notes. So if you compare the records, Washington is 46-26-8. Carolina is 46-29-7. So I'd actually probably call that even. I wouldn't give the advantage to either team there. Yeah. Goals for, Washington has 274. Carolina has 243. Advantage Washington. Goals against, 248 for Washington, 221 for Carolina. Advantage Carolina. Power play, 20.8 for Washington, 17.8 for Carolina. Advantage Washington. Penalty kill, 78.9 for Washington, 81.6 for Carolina. Advantage Carolina. Face-off winning percentage, only 45.7% for Washington, and 49% for Carolina, so advantage Carolina. So I think Carolina just barely has the edge in statistics here. Barely. And they have almost the same record, but I don't think it's as clear as looking at statistics in this specific instance. These two teams are very different. So it's this series can't be predicted by statistics.
No.
I think is the biggest point I was trying to make there. As far as Washington goes, Washington has a bit of an opportunity here. They can do something that only one other team has been able to do in the last 2 decades, and that's win 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back. Pittsburgh's the only other team to do it.
That's right.
In the last 2 decades, to my knowledge, to my memory.
And you got to go back, I think, beyond that to Detroit, maybe
I think they did
25 years ago or
97, 98,
yeah.
I think, or 98, 99. Oh, no, 97, 98. Or 96, 97. I don't know. Anyway, so I think they have a really important opportunity here because for so many years it was Washington can't defeat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh always defeats Washington, but now you have Washington. If they can win 2 cups in 2 years, kind of on that same status level as Pittsburgh as far as reputability. Is that a word? I would say.
I made up a new word last video.
You did, actually. Yeah, so. And the team really hasn't changed that much. Like, obviously Barry Trotz is gone, but I mean, as far as the team structurally, all the big names are, for the most part, still there.
Pretty much there.
So I mean, there's no reason why this team can't go back to the finals.
That's right.
There's no reason. So.
All the ingredients are going to make the same cake that won the Cup last year, and why not?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here for them. Washington players should be aware of the Carolina goalie situation and their questionable past. They don't really have that much experience as far as depth in the playoffs. I think that Washington, if they get out early and score a lot of goals on these goaltenders, confidence will be an issue for them, and I think that could be the dagger that kills Carolina. But they've had a really, really good year, so you never know. But I think Washington's this first game, go out and score just a ton of goals, 10-0, 10-3, whatever you need to do, just pile on the goals and get in their heads a little bit. Ovechkin has to be the same Ovechkin as last year, because last year we saw Ovechkin at a new level. We saw some back-checking from Ovechkin.
Yes.
We saw some smart defensive plays. We saw Ovechkin not shoot first and consider passing and making smart decisions with a puck. We have to see that same Ovechkin again this year.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part this year we have, specifically in the last couple of games of the season when Ovechkin was near 50 goals. He wasn't pushing for it. He was actually, I saw him pass the puck a lot. He's playing some really, really smart hockey, and not just to get points and more assists. He was making the correct plays, and
he was thinking about the bigger picture.
He was, and that was really good to see. I hope he continues that into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think Washington can underestimate the chemistry that's on Carolina and the fact that they are an underdog. they do have probably the best chemistry, tight-knit group. Maybe them and the Islanders kind of on the same level. I kind of see the Islanders and Carolina at the same level as far as emotional coming togetherness of the two franchises. Like there's been big storylines in Carolina this year, big ones in the Islanders. So I think they need to use that as their to their advantage, and I think Washington should be a little bit be careful of that. If Washington wins a game at home, don't mock the Carolina celebrations after the game. Even if Washington wins this series, the karma of doing that to the Carolina Hurricanes will come back and haunt them.
And just generally speaking, don't do the Birdman. Don't do anything other than just score the goal and then look at your colleagues and say, we've been here before and we're going to get another one here shortly. Don't do the Birdman.
But do you know why he does it?
I don't care.
He does it for his daughter because his daughter likes it. He doesn't do it to
Too
mom.
bad. Too bad. Little kids don't always get what they want.
Boom. You hear that,
Boom.
little kids? You don't get
You
what
don't
you
always
want.
get what you want. Sometimes you just get what you need.
That's right.
That's a poor excuse, frankly. If he did it for, now, if you were going to tell me that he did it for some, terminally ill child or something, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But because his daughter likes it, do you think I did everything that you wanted me to do when you were a little kid?
I don't know. I don't remember anything from when I was a child. So
Yeah, so look at all that work gone down the tube. All the Disney World. Remember that? No, I don't remember that.
Nope.
We spent thousands of dollars on trying to plant memories in you that didn't even take.
All right. Well, I wonder if she'll remember the Birdman when she grows up. Who knows? It's not just Ovechkin that can score on Washington. I mean, they've got Oshie, Vrana, Connolly, Backstrom, Wilson, Kuznetsov, all over 20 goals. That's some pretty extreme depth right there. You can't underestimate. I can't underestimate that. You can't just shut down Ovechkin. You need to. There's so many weapons that you need to be aware of, kind of like Toronto a little bit. So just be aware of that if you're Carolina. Tom Wilson needs to keep his cool. He can't be doing the typical Tom Wilson stuff that he's done in the past and been criticized of in the past by us and many others. And he needs to be the player that we know that he can be. He can be the player. He can be a difference maker in a series. He has been before, and he can score goals and set up plays. He's one of the best two-way players in the game, or most complete players in the game. And it's just that little switch in his head that goes sometimes, and he just makes bad decisions. He's got him and Marchand both have the same syndrome.
They do, and they both. Marchand maybe has more assets, and it's a little weirder when he goes off the rails than Wilson. Wilson's just the checks and the low hits and things like that. He's got to stay in his lane.
Yeah,
he's got to stay within the boundaries of what's acceptable, even in the playoffs. Because in the playoffs, as we've talked about before, the refs are less likely to call a questionable penalty because they don't really want to interfere in the game. And Wilson might think he can take some liberties with that situation, but he doesn't want to test that because I think there will be players that the refs will be looking at, and the first cheesy hit that they see from anybody, like a Wilson, they're going to call it.
Yeah, and if we segue into the Carolina, or talking about Carolina, and still stay on the topic of Tom Wilson, Carolina needs to be aware of what Tom Wilson does and has done, and they need to ignore him completely. They can't feed into the Tom Wilson effect.
They can't feed into him, but they have to know exactly where he is on the ice at all times. And players that are anywhere within his range can't have their heads down.
Yep.
They need to know where he is and not engage him, like you're saying, like ignore him, but still know where he's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
This is I would say, a monumentous season for attendance for Carolina. If you look at the attendance of, we'll say, 4 years ago, there's barely anyone in the arena.
Yeah.
And have you watched a Carolina game this season?
I have,
'Cause
unfortunately.
If you have, then you know that arena's been packed. They need to use that emotion. Like they're not used to that. They're just not used to that. So they have that now finally, and they can use that to their advantage. And I hope they do, and they feed off that crowd when they're at their home games this year. It's going to be exciting to see a playoff game in Carolina. I don't know if I would have thought that I would have said that in this year or in the past couple of years, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would say play shutdown roles against Ovechkin and Backstrom. I said earlier that they have so many weapons and you need to be careful, but you can't play the Washington Capitals and not try and shut down Ovechkin and Backstrom. Ovechkin just sits in his office in the power play, and he never seems to be bothered. And that's because Washington has so many other weapons, but even so, you can't let him sit there and just shoot pucks at will. You need to put someone on him. And even if you force it to be a 4-on-3 and you sacrifice a player just to be on Ovechkin all the time, then do it. It's still better than the 5-on-4 with Ovechkin.
Absolutely.
So.
Don't let him stand there.
I agree. Yeah.
It's
crazy.
It's nuts. But they'll do it.
I would say play physical. Show Washington that you're not afraid. You're taking on the defending Stanley Cup champions, and you have some players in Washington who can lay big checks and stuff. But don't buy into that. Show them that you can compete with them. Play physical, and show them you're serious. So I expect Carolina to play physical coming out of this first game.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive support on the net will be key. Help goalies and block shots. Like I said earlier in this video, there's some experience issues on the Carolina goaltending side of things. So help them out. Block shots, clear the net, and do what you can as a defensive player to make their lives easier.
Mm-hmm.
I would say give Svechnikov a chance to shine. Don't limit his ice time just because he's young. He's one of your greatest assets and weapons. Let him go. Let him do what he wants to do. He might make a few mistakes, and he will make mistakes, but what he can do with the puck when you give him the chance might be better than what mistakes he has made or will make.
And best case scenario for Carolina, they win the series with him playing more minutes, playing and having a bigger role in the offense. It's this time of season when you can find energy, you can find ways to compensate for a player who's maybe still going to make the odd mistake. Mm-hmm. He's an asset that you've got to use as much as you possibly can until he collapses. You got to just put it to him. Yeah.
Yep. Finally, I would just say seize the moment. Carolina is the Washington of last year. They have a chance to take down the Stanley Cup or the defending Stanley Cup champions. Washington did it to Pittsburgh last year. Mm-hmm. Carolina could do it to Washington this year. So seize the moment, have fun, and it should be a great series. Who are you cheering for?
I'm slightly more in favor of cheering for the Hurricanes than I am for the Capitals. The Capitals, and this is your thing too, if a team wins the Cup,
they kind of go down my list.
They go down your list.
Yeah.
And I think I'm normally not like that, but in this case, the idea of a two-peat for Washington would be a great hockey story. But what Carolina's been able to do this year, I think, is an even better hockey story. So I'm going to be cheering a little bit for Carolina, and I think they're going to disappoint me. But I'm hoping that they win the series, frankly.
What's your prediction?
My prediction, and this is only if Washington takes this series seriously, and they may not. They may think that they don't have to really turn it on until the second round. Mm-hmm. They need to turn it on in the first round. And I think they're going to be a little lazy the first couple of games before they actually get playoff hardened.
I think so, too. Actually.
So I think Carolina's going to stay in the series for a while. I'm saying 4-2, 4-2 for Washington.
That's actually my exact prediction.
Is it?
I'm predicting Washington in 6. I am cheering for Carolina, though. Although I do really like Washington. I was very happy that they had success last year, even though I was cheering for Vegas against Washington. I like to see Carolina go pretty deep. I think Carolina is pretty close to the top of my favorite teams. I think they're like 6th or something like that. So Carolina's jumped up my list a lot in the past couple of years because I saw the young talent there. I saw the direction that the team's going, and it excited me. So I'm excited that they are where they are, and a little nervous that they have to play Washington, but I'm going to be rooting for them. And it should be a good series.
I wish they still had Skinner.
Oh, totally.
For a series like this, with a guy like that. And I bet you maybe Skinner wishes he was after the experiment in Buffalo. But when you see a team that's now in the show, and they had some more assets until very recently that they could really use right now. But hey, it is what it is.
Look at their cap space. They got like $16 million just sitting there doing nothing.
Man,
look at who you could have like.
They could have had anybody.
How much better could this team be?
Yeah.
Next year.
Look out.
It's going to be scary.
Look out. But they can do some damage this year. We'll see.
They can. They have the opportunity and they have the ability, I would say.
Yeah.
That wraps up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. The next one we're going to do, which is the last one, is Calgary, Colorado. So we're going to film that right after this one. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you can hit the subscribe button and join us here for that future video. And definitely go back and check out our previous videos if you haven't seen those yet and you are new. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Adios.